The imperial chef, unwilling to harm the emperor, secretly put 2 taels of poison into the porridge. The eunuch responsible for delivering the porridge had also been instructed by the Empress Dowager. However, just after he added the poison, he was knocked unconscious with a single strike. The attacker was none other than the 3rd-ranked assassin in the martial world, who had infiltrated the palace with the same goal, to assassinate the emperor. If I add these 2 taels of poison, the effects will be immediate. In the end, more than half a gene of poison was mixed into only half a bowl of porridge. By the time it was served to the emperor, it had already turned a thick, milky white. Even a fool could tell something was wrong with it. Yet the emperor ignored all warnings and insisted on drinking it. At the critical moment, the chief eunuch knocked the bowl from the emperor's hands. He thought he would surely be rewarded for protecting the emperor. To his surprise, the emperor gritted his teeth in anger and immediately dropped to the floor, trying to lick up the poisoned porridge. The reason for this seemingly insane behavior was that he was actually a modern-day rich man who had transmigrated into the emperor's body. After his second uncle died, he inherited a fortune worth hundreds of millions. He could have lived comfortably for the rest of his life, but before he could enjoy it, he suddenly found himself transported into the body of a puppet emperor in ancient times. To return to the modern world, there was only one way. He had to die an unnatural death, anything except suicide. At the moment, his best opportunity was the Empress Dowager, who had thrown the government into chaos. During the late emperor's reign, she had repeatedly betrayed him and now desperately wanted to kill the emperor and place her own son on the throne. The young man decided to use this opportunity against her. "I say, you old woman, why don't you just stay in the harem where you belong? Why are you sticking your nose into state affairs? Tell me, what exactly do you plan to do next? Old woman, am I wrong? Look at yourself. You have neither ability nor brains, yet you still want to rule from behind the curtain. With your level of education, do you even understand what the ministers are discussing? You? What about me? If I were you, I'd jump into a river and drown myself. And if that didn't work, I'd come back and hang myself. I'd be too ashamed to keep living." His passionate outburst left the chief eunuch completely stunned. He even began to believe that the late emperor's spirit had returned through the current emperor because he could no longer tolerate seeing power fall into the wrong hands. From that moment on, the eunuch resolved to serve the emperor faithfully. As for the Empress Dowager, after being humiliated so thoroughly, there was no way she could swallow her anger. She immediately accused the emperor of being unfilial and ordered him confined to the northern palace, intending to use the opportunity to have him killed. The young man, of course, saw right through her scheme. In fact, he eagerly went to the northern palace and waited for death to arrive. He even instructed the eunuch delivering the decree. "When the time comes, make sure they really go all out. Your Majesty clearly knows the Empress Dowager wants to kill you. Why are you still seeking death? Forget it. If it's the Empress Dowager handling it, there shouldn't be any problem." To make sure the assassination plan succeeded, the young man personally had spiked clubs placed beside the windows and ropes hung from the ceiling beams. Whether the assassin entered through the window or from above, there would be weapons readily available to kill him. After all, assassinating an emperor was probably a first for everyone involved. Everything was arranged so he could return smoothly to the modern world. What he never expected, however, was that the most skilled killers often use the simplest methods. Without communicating with one another, they all chose to poison the same half bowl of porridge. The amount of poison was so excessive that the young man immediately noticed something suspicious. "Are these idiots serious? If you're going to poison me, at least do it properly. You dumped in so much that anyone could tell." The chief eunuch also noticed the problem. "This porridge is unusually milky and has a strange smell. Someone has clearly poisoned it." But the young man urged him not to interfere. "Maybe it's just millet porridge mixed with some flour." The chief eunuch couldn't simply watch the emperor die, so during their argument, he deliberately knocked the bowl over. The eunuch responsible for the poison thought the plot had been exposed and immediately fell to his knees in terror. Meanwhile, the chief eunuch was congratulating himself for saving the emperor's life. The next second, however, the furious young man kicked him aside and lunged toward the spilled porridge on the floor. At that moment, he wanted nothing more than to tear the chief eunuch to pieces. He was also furious at the poisoners for being so incompetent with their dosage. His dream of returning to the modern world seemed completely ruined. Just then, the assassin outside the window realized the emperor was still alive and immediately charged into the room. The sight instantly rekindled the young man's hope.